David.
Jesus, don't creep up on someone like that.
Sorry about that.
It's fine. What do you want?
I think we should record a new audio tutorial.
Yeah, okay. What do you have in mind?
Let's make a tutorial about voiceovers.
Voiceovers?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do it.
Okay, great. So we're gonna need a sound booth and a condenser mic and a pop shield and
but I don't have any of that stuff.
What?
I don't have a professional sound booth. I don't have...
Okay, well, never mind. Do you have a blanket?
Yeah, I have a blanket.
Okay, great.
Okay. You sure?
Yeah, just any old blanket.
Okay. How's it going, everyone? I'm David from DOD Media.
We are David.
We're David from DOD Media. And today we're going to be showing you how you can create some fantastic quality voiceovers without having to have access to a voiceover studio. In fact, you don't actually need anything particularly fancy at all. You just need a blanket. This is a moving blanket from Homebase. It cost me about 10 quid. But if you have a duvet, a nice thick duvet on your bed, that'll do just fine as well. And then a small external mic, cheap, like this Rode Video Micro, and a way of recording that audio source. So I have an external recorder, but if you have a nice preamp in your camera, you could just use your camera as well. So right now in this room, I've got a computer directly behind me with some fans which are making a fair bit of noise. And I don't have a huge amount of furniture in this room to absorb things. It's pretty much all hard furniture and storage like shelves. So that's going to bounce and slap my sound around quite a bit in this room, which is why there's a little bit of reverb in it. And so the idea is to try and dampen down all of that background noise so that we can really focus on the output of my mouth or your mouth for your voiceover. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to hang this blanket over us like a tent or a teepee. And we're going to have our microphone inside that tent or teepee. And that's going to allow us to get really nice and close to the microphone so that it can pick up the source of sound that we want, whilst dampening out all of the background noise that's in the room. Now there's a couple of things to bear in mind before we do that. I'm not using a pop shield on this microphone, which means that if I speak directly into it like that, you'll hear a big pop. So you need to angle the mic like this current mic that's recording my voice right now is angled, which is just slightly from above pointing down. That way, when I speak, the wind from my mouth is coming out this way, but the microphone is recording down, which means it's not going to pick up any of the sound pressure level. It's not going to be hit by any sound pressure level of wind, which means it's not going to need a pop shield. Then the second thing is to actually hang, to pitch this tent, this blanket over you. You can use a bunch of stuff. You could use a chair, you could use a tripod, you could use a couple of light stands. Really, it's down to you. You don't need to have expensive gear, expensive stands to do this. Anything will do, as long as you can get under it and you can get the microphone under it without it actually rubbing against the blanket. Okay, so let's do this. All right, so I have pitched the blanket on a monopod, as you can see right here. I've got the mic in front of me pointing down towards my mouth, not directly in front of it, and it's recording onto an external recorder. And this is giving me such a nice, clean and crisp sound, although I am sweating like hell in here because it is hot. Okay, so now let's just go ahead and record some voiceover. In fact, let's record the voiceover that you heard in that beginning. David. Sorry about that. I think we should record a new audio tutorial. Let's make a tutorial about voiceovers. I've no idea why I'm talking like Batman. All right, now that we've got our voiceover recorded, let's bring this into Premiere Pro or whatever nonlinear editor you're using, and let's see how we can tweak it just to sound beautifully crisp and sharp. Okay, so I can't stop doing it. Okay, so now I've got my clips loaded up in Premiere Pro, just on a blank timeline. And you can see here, it's literally just the 3 clips. I've done nothing to them yet. If I press play.
David. Sorry about that. I think we should record a new audio tutorial.
You can see the levels, they're a little bit low. It's not punching through, it's not crispy yet. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna come up to the audio track mixer window. If you don't see it there, come up to window and it will be right there, audio track mixer. And by default, you should see it like this. And this tiny little arrow here changes everything when it comes to mixing audio in Premiere Pro. So drop that arrow down and now you have an effects rack. I've gone over this a number of times in some of my tutorials, And in this one, I'm going to show you the default settings that you're going to use, which are the defaults within the effects that we're going to be adding. So you don't have to tweak it too much to start with. And then once we're settled, then you can start tweaking it to your liking. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and add a tube model compressor, a parametric equalizer, a noise reduction, denoise. Then we're going to come down to special, and here we're going to have vocal enhancer. And then finally into amplitude and compression, we're going to add a hard limiter. Now starting from the top, we're going to double click and we're just going to add these presets. Voiceover, parametric EQ, we're going to come down to vocal enhancer. Denoise, we're going to select light noise reduction, and we're actually going to bring that down to about 10% instead of 20%. Vocal enhance, I'm going to select male because I'm a man. And hard limiter, I'm just going to drop this maximum amplitude to -1 decibel. All right, now let's have a listen to it.
David. Sorry about that. I think we should record a new audio tutorial. Let's make a tutorial about voiceovers.
That is sounding so crispy and nice, but it could be a little bit brighter. So now is where we're going to come in and tweak it depending on the timbre of the voice that you have when you're recording. You're going to need to do this more or less depending on how you speak and what your voice is like. And this is really where understanding the EQ range will help you massively when you're dealing with your own voice or someone else's voice with the voiceover mix. So this EQ window here is a little bit like the histogram in your picture, where here is the darkest part, the deepest part, and here is the brightest part, the highest part. Except that instead of shadows and light, we're dealing with bass and treble, low and high. So you can see here that the curve that's been added by default with that vocal enhancer preset is chopping off a lot of the bass, the deepest ends in that audio. Then it's boosting it a little bit at around the 100 Hertz mark. Then it brings it back down around 300 Hertz. And then it just gradually lets it slope up a bit towards about 5,000 Hertz, 6,000 Hertz. And there it really peaks it up to bring out a lot of that clarity and brightness and crispness in your voice. But as I said, for mine, it's a little bit too muddy still. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take number 5 here. I'm going to bring that up. I'm going to take number 4. I'm going to bring that down a touch and maybe bring it down towards 2K. Now I'm going to enable loop playback on my toolbar here. If you don't see it, press that plus button and drag it from there down to your toolbar. And that will just allow me to loop this so I don't have to keep pressing spacebar and going back to the beginning and pressing spacebar again.
Sorry about that. I think we should record a new audio tutorial. Let's make a tutorial about voiceovers.
So that's sounding good, but the problem is it's still a little bit on the quiet side. And the reason for that is that if you select one of those clips and hit G for gain, you can see that the peak amplitude is almost at -12 decibels, which is lovely because it guarantees you're not going to be peaking anywhere, or you'd hope so anyway. But in the edit, we want to be able to bring that up so that we're getting closer to kind of -6 decibels. So I'm just going to go ahead and adjust this by 6. I'm going to add 6 gain to that. And now listen to the difference between the ones without the gain and the one with the gain.
Sorry about that. I think we should record a new audio tutorial. Let's make a tutorial.
Massive difference, right? So just select your other 2 clips, hit G and add whatever gain it is to bring it up towards -6 is a nice sweet spot. And now,
David. Sorry about that. I think we should record a new audio tutorial. Let's make a tutorial about voiceovers.
Now hang on a second. There's a bunch of popping going on from my mouth because my mouth is wet. I mean, if you don't have a wet mouth, you shouldn't be watching this. You should be in the hospital. My mouth is wet. And so when I move my tongue, when I move my jaw, it makes noises. It makes horrible noises that my tongue are just creating in my mouth. And so we want to try and remove some of those noises because they're very off-putting if you're hearing that right in your ear. But the problem is that I've already used the 5 slots that are available to me in this effects rack for this channel. So what I'm going to need to do is look down here where you've got your submix tracks. So here I'm going to create a stereo submix, and you can see that it's added it here in your channels as a submix track, and it shows up here on your timeline. Now, a submix is basically like a ghost track. It's not a real track where you're going to be putting audio clips. It's a phantom track that you're going to be running audio clips through. And so now that we've created that submix, we have 5 additional slots to add more effects to that one channel which is going through that submix. Does that make sense? So now that we're in submix, I'm going to come down to noise reduction and restoration, and I'm going to click automatic. I'm still going. I'm going to click automatic click remover. And here I'm just going to go with a light reduction preset and listen to see how it works.
David. Sorry about that. I think we should record a new audio tutorial. Let's make a tutorial about voiceovers.
Still hearing it a bit there. Not as much, but a bit. Let's try for a medium.
David. Sorry about that. I think we should record a new audio tutorial. Let's make a tutorial about voiceovers.
Still hearing it. I'm a loud mouth clicker. Here we go.
David. Sorry about that. I think we should record a new audio tutorial. Let's make a tutorial about voiceovers.
That is much better. And just like that, we've managed to record a really crisp, sharp, fantastic sounding voiceover using completely accessible and cheap gear. You don't have to have a big fancy professional sound booth to get away with it. You just have to have a duvet, a microphone, and a camera. Now, of course, this was a very quick example, and you could do a lot more to this by messing with the presets that are in here. For example, adding a little bit more compression, adding a little bit of a different EQ to it, tweaking your denoising depending on how much noise you still have in that background of your shot, of your track. And if you're still getting a lot of clicking, well, that's where you can start going in and adjusting levels to just drop in very specific areas where you've got a pop. Like, for example, here, right at the beginning here, there's a click. I don't like it. So what I'm going to do is drag this down, and then you can see there's a line here. I'm going to select my pen tool. I'm going to click a point there, and just drop this down to nothing. Actually, the click's a bit before.
Sorry about that. I think we should record.
There you go. Click is gone with just 4 little nodes on the timeline. And of course, as I say, you can spend hours making this, tweaking this so that it is perfect. But the point of this video was really to show you in 20 minutes or under how you can create a fantastic sounding voiceover with very accessible stuff. All right. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you would consider popping over to my social media channels and hitting subscribe and follow and like and all of the things there that can help me just reach a little bit further. All right. Cheers for watching.